If you struggle with resentment, you're not alone. But research shows that harboring feelings of resentment cause us to feel persistent anger and bitterness, and those types of emotions can significantly impact our mental health because it can lead to anxiety and depression. And we also know that those kinds of emotions significantly impact our physical health. In this video, I'm going to share the hacks that I have to release the most stubborn resentment, because when I learned this, it created a freedom inside of me that I really can't explain any other way. It would be like, I don't know, having calorie-less chocolate, and I don't say that lightly. You have probably heard that holding on to resentment is like taking a poison pill and expecting someone else to die. So let's dive into the first hack to release the most stubborn resentment. The first is that you must set an intention that you want to release resentment, that this is important to you for your own health. Now, your mind is going to tell you that person doesn't deserve to be forgiven. I don't want to do this. You were justified. You were right. All of these things. That's what your mind and body are going to say. And in fact, what I just learned just before I got on to record this is that justification is being proven to be shown as one of the biggest energy drains of all of the emotions. So there's a much greater reason why you want to let go of resentment. It has nothing to do with the other person and everything to do with you. But if you don't set that intention to remind yourself that this is why you're doing it, it's going to be very hard to get it done. So the first hack to releasing the most stubborn resentment is to set your intention that you're doing it for you and no one else. The second hack to letting go of resentment is to ask yourself why you're resentful. In other words, what is your part in that resentment? And this is taught in Al-Anon, step 4. What is my part in this? It's about taking 100% responsibility for your life and your actions. And if you look at this close enough, you will find that you had a part in it. I used to work with a woman who was resentful chronically about her family. Why don't anybody ever take my thoughts into account? Why does anybody ever ask what I need? It's always all about them. Well, when we began to pull this apart, it was really clear why that was the case. It was because she never told anybody what she needed. She ran around and took care of everybody to such an extent that nobody had to do anything. She taught them how to treat her. And why did she do that? Because her anxiety about people being upset with her was so great that she went over and above to make sure that everybody was happy all the time. And it cost her because then she was exhausted, hence the resentment. So the second hack is really identifying your part in it, because if you can identify your part in it, well, now that already eases up the blame that you're laying on someone else. The third hack to releasing resentment is to keep your mouth shut. Now, what we know about neuroscience is neurons that fire together wire together. That means the more we say something out loud, the more we think a particular thought, the more we go over and over and over it in our brain, experience enriches the brain. And so that connection, just like any relationship that you spend more time with, that connection in your brain gets stronger and stronger and stronger, and the resentment gets stronger and stronger. So don't share with other people, oh, this was so unfair, this is I don't like. Don't go over and over the resentment. If you want to share with someone or you want to spend some time on this, then talk to someone about how you can release it. Talk to someone about helping you determine what your part in it was so that you can release it, not so that you can wire it in further. The fourth hack I have for you to release stubborn resentment is forgiveness. Now, I know you might not want to hear this, but hear me out. Forgiveness, of course, is the easiest way to release resentment, but how do you do that when something feels unforgivable? Here's how. Take whatever the person did and find something in your life, sometime in your life that you did something similar. If not similar, then of the same ilk, but in a different form. So for example, if you feel like, well, I'll give you an example that I think of. If I'm feeling like I was dismissed or ignored or talked down to, I think about, okay, when have I done that? And a lot of us will say, oh, I've never done that. I would never do that. And that's not really that honest, because if you stop and you think about, when have I done that to someone? You can find a time where you talk down to someone. Maybe you were talking to a customer service person who was making you absolutely batshit crazy and you just weren't very nice about it, right? Maybe you were on your phone when your kid was trying to talk to you. Maybe you dismissed something that one of your team members at work tried to bring up to you. These are all examples of times that you were dismissive or you talked down to someone. And when you can identify whatever the resentment is for you, whatever you're harboring, identify a time that you behaved similarly, it makes it a lot more easy to forgive the person who did it, because you would want forgiveness for yourself too. When you realize that you're human too, they're human, you're human, we all do these things that we don't sometimes realize have the impact they have. Or maybe we do, but we're angry and we want that person to have that painful experience. It's all about being human. So the more you can determine where you might have behaved similarly, the quicker you can forgive, which will release that resentment. Okay, the next hack to let go of resentment is to understand that letting go of resentment is not letting someone else off the hook. I worked with someone years ago who was chronically resentful at her spouse, and she couldn't really let go of it because she felt that to let go of it would say that everything that the spouse was doing was okay and appropriate, which it wasn't. But that's not what releasing resentment is about. Remember that resentment lives inside of you. This is a really, really important thing to understand, and it's commonly known in the psychotherapy world about what happens when you are holding all of the emotion for a situation. So, for example, if someone wronged you, or let's say you think they wronged you, and you're holding resentment for it, you're holding all of the anger, all of the emotion about this, that person, by definition, because of the way that energy works, is not going to be able to hold, is not going to be holding any pain from this situation at all. And I know you've probably experienced this where, maybe you are like so worked up about something that happened with someone and they're just like whistling Dixie. It's because if you're holding all the emotional energy for something, someone else is not going to hold the emotional energy for that thing. And so you have to give that energy back. And remember, this is intention. Go all the way back to hack 1. This is about your intention for you to not hold this in your body and to put it back where it belongs. You don't want to be sitting with a poison pill for someone else's behavior. So understand that it has nothing to do with letting someone off the hook. You can say that it's all fine and good, or you can never say it's all fine and good, and that person's going to interpret whatever's happening however they interpret it. So this hack is very specific to understand that letting go of resentment is for you. It is not saying that you're letting anybody off the hook. It is not saying that what they did was okay. It is simply to energetically pass the emotion back to them, and they can grapple with it. They can figure out if what they did was right or wrong. They can live with the consequences of that action. You want to be free. You want to be light, and that's why you are releasing resentment. The final tip is about how to not start feeling resentful to begin with. But before I do that, if you have enjoyed these hacks, please leave a comment on the YouTube channel. Please subscribe and leave a 5-star review on Apple. This would be the biggest way for you to give back for anything that you are learning from listening to these videos. Okay, so the last tip I want to give you, the last hack of how to avoid resentment altogether, is simply to say no. One of the biggest causes of resentment is to say yes when we mean no. Simply start saying no so that you can stop feeling resentful for having said yes. Now, if you want the granddaddy, though, of how to stop feeling resentful, it's a little bit of a deeper dive, and you'll have to learn about self-betrayal or self-abandonment. And for that, I want you to go ahead and watch the video that I created called Stop Leaving Yourself Behind, where I'm going to teach you exactly how to stop self-abandoning. And that leads to boundless energy. I hope you enjoyed this. And until next time, don't forget to subscribe.